No.
It looks cumbersome, to say the least.
It looks tragic, is what it looks like.
And
now,
he was
the good
in the
news
locker
is,
room with crutches.
Yeah. Well, he has, according to, I think it's David Chow, the pro football doctor, who puts his stuff out there on social media. He also writes for San Diego Union Tribune. He says Smith's appearance there at the Wizards game confirms that he has an external fixator on his leg, which serves to hold the bones in place since the hardware from his initial surgery had to be removed due to the infection. He goes on to say the device has sequential rings outside that are connected to each other, and there are spoke-like wires that pierce through his leg and are connected to the rings. It originated in Russia. He says this confirms some of the fears that Smith has suffered significant complications. The initial thought was that he'd be able to return to start the season. However, with the infection and multiple surgeries, and by the way, I got an unconfirmed report about 3 weeks ago. He had had as many as 16 surgeries already. Okay,
wow,
16. This is not about a guy who broke his leg and had a bad injury. This is about a guy who had a bad injury and then had a terrifically horrible infection that risked his leg. Okay, they now when they see this, the doctor says he probably won't lose his leg. But the bad news is he still likely has several more surgeries and procedures still to come.
Bad deal.
Including the ultimate removal of his ring fixator. There's no way he'll be able to come back next season. In fact, they say the next thing to watch for are reports of a free flap graft. If he's had that, and I believe I've heard a month ago that he has had that, it's over. And that is where they take, because they had all that infected tissue, they take muscle from another part of his body and they have to reconnect it to the leg area over the exposed area where the infected tissue was removed. I had heard about 6 weeks or so ago that that's exactly what's already happened. And again, I can't confirm it. This is what I had heard, that they had taken muscle from his hip and put it into that leg area. And according to David Chow, if that happens, this would make it almost impossible to return to football at all. And that's why I'd also heard doctors say it's preposterous to even think about him playing football.
Right.
And you look at that leg. Have you ever seen anybody in the history of the NFL that's walked around with that thing on their leg and come back?
I mean,
it's almost like, God bless Ryan Shazier. It's almost like the same likelihood of Ryan Shazier coming back.
Right. I totally agree.
Highly unlikely.
It's just terrible. But thank God it's going to be able to keep his leg. That's what the current thinking is.
Yeah.
The last line in Chow's article from the San Diego Union Tribune is, the hope is Smith, now I've got a pop-up ad, of course, coming, can continue to recover and return to football if he chooses, but his team will need to find a new starting quarterback for the beginning of 2019 and likely beyond.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of all knew that going in.
Yeah. It's just a horrible, horrible deal.
Yeah, you feel bad for him. You feel horrible for him.
I mean, he was on the second half of his career, but he was still kind of in the prime of his career. And it's just taken away from him.
Look,
and they were winning with him.
Right.
It was ugly, but
at the very least, he was going to be your starter for 3 years. Maybe he doesn't play
about
the
him.
fourth
That's why
year.
the Redskins made the trade.
He was going to play football, the game he loves, for another 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
He's probably never going to be able to play ever again.
Correct.
He played maybe some flag football. But, that was a scary sight. That's why, and think about it, the surgery, the initial surgery was like 2 months ago.
Yeah, a couple months have passed.
The initial surgery was November, early November.
And that's why they had all the blankets over him and everything, because he had this external fixator, however you say it, on his leg around Christmas time. So
I couldn't imagine trying to sleep with that. Like, let alone walk around with it. He's got crutches.
Well, he's probably very heavily medicated come nighttime.
Oh, sure. I'm sure he's got a lot of pain relief. But JP's right, just the uncomfortable fact.
Yeah.
I mean, it just depends on how you sleep. Like, I had the big brace after the ACL, and I sleep on my stomach, and it was such a dagger that I couldn't. It was such a struggle.
You might have to sleep in like a lazy boy or something.
Yeah, I don't know how he would do it.
Yeah. He might have to fall asleep in like a medical chair.
I wonder how much pain he's in on a day-to-day basis.
The what?
How much pain he's in.
That doesn't look comfortable.
It's not comfortable, no doubt.
That doesn't
I
look
wonder how much he's
comfortable
actually
at
feeling it. I mean, he's probably feeling it a lot.
And what's so sick is they got him into that surgery right away because they knew infection was the number one thing they had to worry about, and they still couldn't prevent it.
You know what, though? There's one thing which does
make me optimistic if I'm a Redskins fan. It said he's at a Wizards game. Like, I would think if he was going to punt his career, like, my guess is he's not going to end up in Washington for his life. Maybe he decides that that's where he's going to retire. Okay, but he spent so many years in Kansas City or San Francisco. I don't even know where he makes his home. Mm-hmm. But if he was just going to punt, I would think he'd almost be back to Utah.
Well, he's not going to punt yet. He's going to do everything he can to see where this goes.
Right, plus around all the doctors.
All the doctors. He's got more surgeries coming.
Yeah. Okay, but he could get surgeries elsewhere. He
can't
find a doctor.
He can't
elsewhere.
fly.
He might not be able to fly.
He might not be able to fly.
I don't know.
Especially after that quickly after surgery. If he's had 16 of them, it's a lot.
Yeah.
He can't fly.
And he has to continue leading his life. I mean, he's got kids.
I know, but my point is he might want to lead his life
You were
elsewhere,
surprised
like where
that
he
he's
retires.
still here in D.C.? Well, he's been embraced here. He would plan to be here for a while. Kids are all in school. You don't want to just yank your kids out of school.
Yeah, exactly. He bought a house here. This is where he lives.
For now. Yeah.
Yeah, but those guys make so much money. They can buy a house anywhere.
No,
Yeah, but, you know, maybe he's actually smart with his money. It's
what are you
just
gonna
they're
do?
not buying every
What are you
single
going to do?
stop.
Schedule a move when you're...
No, you're right.
No, the kids in
doesn't make
school is a
sense.
big thing. Now, I think let's see where he is, in the fall. But man, that was a gruesome sight. Now it's great to see him, and he seemed to be in good spirits, but that was pretty gruesome.